Welcome back everyone, Herson here with another tutorial for Civilization VI Multiplayer with the Better Balanced Game mod. In this video, I'll be covering how to properly wage war in Multiplayer Civ VI. Let's get right into it. To start with, let me give some context on how combat strength works in Civ VI. In this game, all damage calculations are based on the flat difference between the combat strength of the two involved units. This means that a unit with 20 strength fighting a unit with 30 strength is equivalent to a unit with 90 strength fighting a unit with 100 strength, in terms of the amount of damage that'll be dealt. Because of this, the mini bonuses which give flat combat strength, such as the +5 from a nearby Great General, are always relevant. Furthermore, damage is slightly random in every instance of combat. Notably, the breakpoint where a unit might be killed in one hit from full health is when it's being attacked by a unit with 26 more combat strength than it. The breakpoint where it will always be one shot from full health is when it's being attacked by a unit with 36 more combat strength than it. Combat strength differences aren't just about hard breakpoints, however. For instance, if you're fighting an opponent whose units are equal in strength to your own, both of you will have to retreat your units from the front line to heal them before they accumulate enough XP for their first promotions. However, if your units have even a small combat strength advantage on your opponent, they will usually survive enough hits to reach their first promotion without needing to retreat from the front lines. Because promotions in Civ 6 heal units for 50% of their max HP, this means that your units can promote and keep fighting on the front lines, whereas your opponent's units will take too much damage and be forced to retreat before they can even reach their first promotion. The moral of the story? Even a small advantage in combat strength can end up being the difference between being completely stuck in a deadlock and being able to fully conquer your target. One of the biggest differences between fighting AI and fighting human players is that humans understand the concept of focus firing. Players will try to focus all of their attacks on a single target in an effort to kill it in one turn, preventing it from retreating and healing back up. If you're used to playing against AI that spread their damage out and let you endlessly promote and cycle your units, be prepared for a real paradigm shift when jumping into multiplayer. Now, let's get into how to actually make good, efficient war moves. We'll start by looking at support and flanking bonuses. Support bonuses are gained whenever a unit is defending. For every friendly military unit within one tile, the defending unit gains +2 combat strength. In this example, you can see how France is able to get a substantial +6 combat strength bonus when defending, by clumping their units up together. Flanking bonuses, on the other hand, are gained whenever a unit is attacking. This gives you +2 combat strength for every one of your units adjacent to your target, excluding the one issuing the attack. In this example, you can see how my musketman is gaining +6 combat strength due to the fact that I have 3 other units adjacent to the target. It may not seem like much, but this +6 means that my unit will take far less damage than it would otherwise. Maximizing your support and flanking bonuses is key to warfare. Next, let's examine the bonuses granted to combat strength based on fortification and terrain. When a unit fortifies itself and hasn't spent any movement points that turn, it gains +2 combat strength on defense instantly, increasing to +4 if it continues to remain in place on the next turn. This is slightly nerfed by the Better Balanced Game mod compared to Vanilla's +3 combat strength per turn of fortification. Because turns in multiplayer are generally played simultaneously, it's a smart idea to quickly fortify all of your units at the start of the turn, even if you plan to move them later in that same turn. The fortification bonus kicks in immediately and will grant them +2 if they're attacked while you're planning your moves. You can further bolster your defense using terrain. Hills, rainforests, and woods all grant +3 combat strength to units standing on them while they're defending. Tiles which contain hills and forests stack to grant +6. When attacking over a river, a penalty of -5 combat strength is applied to the attacker. Terrain bonuses apply regardless of whether or not you're fortified, but they also stack with fortification, which can provide up to +10 combat strength, making units incredibly hard to kill. Terrain plays a big role in the viability of wards in Civ 6. Flatter, less forested terrain favors attackers. As a final note on fortification, be wary of fortifying when your opponent is using heavy cavalry units, such as knights and tanks. It's possible for heavy cavalry to grab a promotion which grants them +10 combat strength against fortified units. Against these, it's better to avoid fortification entirely. Next, let's take a look at Great Generals. The primary way to acquire one of these bad boys is by placing down an encampment district, which unlocks the encampment training project in that city. By running this project, you can instantly generate a burst of Great General points. This is extremely worthwhile, as Great Generals have a number of useful effects. They grant +5 combat strength and +1 movement to all friendly units of the appropriate era in a 2-tile range, but that's not all. They also allow siege units in their area of effect to move and shoot on the same turn, whereas ordinarily a siege unit needs to have not moved in order to fire. Having a Great General will substantially speed up your push, and you should always strive to have one. As the game progresses through the eras, you'll unlock more ways of gaining combat strength advantages. Diplomatic visibility is one of them. For every level of diplomatic visibility you have on your opponent, above the level of visibility they have on you, all of your units will gain +3 combat strength against theirs, indicated by the Intelligence on Opponent's Movements text. There are only 3 ways of gaining diplomatic visibility on someone you're at war with. The first one is researching the printing technology. This grants 1 level of diplomatic visibility on every civilization in the game. As a result, this technology is highly prioritized in wars starting from the medieval era onwards. The second is having a spy in your opponent's territory running the Listening Post mission for 1 more level of visibility. If the spy has 2 or more promotions, it'll actually grant 2 levels of visibility instead. This amounts to +6 combat strength on all units compared to having no spy at all. Lastly, there is a modern-era great merchant, Mary Catherine Goddard, who grants +1 level of diplomatic visibility on all civilizations for the rest of the game. While there exist other means of earning diplomatic visibility, such as establishing trading posts or embassies in other civs, those effects do not persist during war in the same way the previous 3 I listed do. With all of the knowledge I've given you on how to fight wars, let's talk about how to optimally produce units. In Civ VI, the most efficient way to build up a large military force is to use policy cards which discount units, such as maneuver, to build a large number of low-cost, obsolete versions of the unit you want. For example, if you wanted to push with knights, you would slot in this policy card and build a large number of heavy chariots in all of your cities. This is known as pre-building. Make sure you finish producing all of your pre-builds before you unlock the technology for the unit you actually want. In this case, once I've made enough heavy chariots, I finally finished the stirrups technology to unlock knights. I used the Professional Army policy card unlocked at Mercenaries to upgrade all of my units at a large gold discount. In this manner, I'm able to create a large number of knights on the same turn I unlock the technology. This pre-build into upgrade strategy is key to affordably producing a large military based around technological power spikes in as timely a manner as possible. When defending during a war, having walls up is critical. One way to quickly erect walls in a city along your border is to buy a builder in that city and use them to chop a woods tile. The instant burst of production from removing the woods is also multiplied by the production increase from the limes policy card, which can allow you to instantly erect walls with just a single build charge. Now that we've gotten all of the fun stuff out of the way, let's talk about the jankiness of Civ VI multiplayer. In multiplayer, games are generally played with synchronous turns, meaning that everyone takes their turn simultaneously. In practice, this means that players with faster computers can load into new turns quicker and get to start making moves several seconds before other players. This is known as first moving. However, there is also a counterbalance to this. When playing with the turn timer, as is standard in multiplayer, players who load into their turns faster will also have their turns forcibly ended sooner, allowing for what is known as last moving. This refers to the practice of a player with a slower computer making many of their war moves at the very end of their turn, preventing their opponent from being able to respond, since their own turn has already been forcibly ended by the turn timer. Whenever you fight a war in Civ, it's important to suss out who has the faster computer so you know whether or not you should be playing for first moves or last moves. While making first moves is generally preferable to having last moves, it's still important to make the most out of your last moves whenever you find yourself with the slower computer in a war. That wraps up all the content for this video. You're now properly equipped to hop into multiplayer games and start warring to your heart's content. Subscribe to the channel to catch future videos, and let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. If you want to catch full games of Multiplayer Civ VI, be sure to drop a follow at my Twitch channel that I've linked in the description. See you in the next one.